play more. Thank you. No, there's a little more to it than that. Even though it would be funny if I took all this time just to say 2 words. And I mean, it's not like it's actually bad advice or anything, it's a lot better than saying play less, of course. But you could be doing things a little more effectively, okay? But how? Well, that's what we're gonna get to with this video. But first, if you haven't already, please subscribe, because I post content like this somewhat regularly. Anyways, let's go. Alright, let's start at the beginning. This video is aimed at helping 6 digits with getting better. If you're below that, don't worry, it'll still all apply to you just as well. And if you're above, well, you probably already know most of the things I'm going to cover, but maybe you'll still find something useful in here. Either way, if you want to jump to anything specific, the timestamps are of course in the description. Or just down there, yeah. Whatever, let's just get to what I mentioned in the intro. Now while play more might be the best advice you can give to a new player, once you've gotten past the complete beginner stage, it isn't quite as simple anymore. Which is not to say that if you're in some kind of online argument about those, you can't just auto-win with it. But once you've gotten the basics down, it's more about building up actual skills instead of just getting raw playtime. Meaning, you'll need to play the right things. But finding out what those are isn't always super simple, and it also really depends on what you're actually trying to achieve. So it will of course be kind of different for everybody, but let's go over some general advice. Now, since I don't really wanna immediately start off by telling you not to play those evil farm maps, we're actually gonna start with what yes to play. Don't worry, we'll still get to the other stuff later, but for now, here's what to do. First of all, play stuff within your general skill range. Now hearing this might be a bit surprising, cause in a lot of videos they tell you to go past that. And yes, by like half a star at the very most. But even then, it's generally more of an advice aimed at higher level players. Cause once you've internalized that you need to get good accuracy for a play to actually be good, you're of course going to be a bit more hesitant when it comes to playing stuff on which you're suddenly getting low 90s on. But at the lower level that's less of an issue, as you will likely already want to jump to the harder stuff anyways. And I mean, I get that, but you can also overdo it. So instead of rushing, try finding the range at which you can confidently get around 95% accuracy and then slowly move up from there. And like once again, not by much, and also not for your entire play session. Cause at that point, your main goal should still be to get your AC up. Cause you actually want to build some solid fundamentals here. It's like building a house. If the basis sucks, the whole thing will just fall over. Might not be the best one-for-one analogy, cause you won't suddenly lose whatever skill you got so far. It's just going to be an absolute nightmare to build any of the higher level skills on top of it later. Sooner or later, this will mean that you'll get stuck. But when you push yourself a little bit outside of your comfort zone, instead of doing those huge jumps to the cool maps you see in the Twitch highlights, you are going to learn a lot more. That's cause while you likely still won't have seen them right away, at least you can actually somewhat play those maps. And no, surviving a 7-star by just mashing through it does not count, as you can somewhat play it. But let's keep that for the bad habits part. Instead, let's move on to the next tip. Try and get as many maps as you possibly can. And don't limit yourself to just the ones you like the music of. I mean, of course, you shouldn't hate the audio, cause that's no fun either. But since this is a rhythm game, the maps are of course based on the music. Meaning that depending on the genre, they're gonna play very differently. And who knows, maybe you'll even discover some cool new music you like. Not that that's the point here, but hey, it doesn't hurt either. But the main goal is still that you want to play as many different kinds of patterns as you can find. But where do you get the good maps? In an ideal world, I would recommend that you get them by playing in multi-lobbies. But well, we've all seen the memes, and more often than not, they're actually true. So what do you actually do? Well, you can either go look for some map packs, or if you have OS Premium, just go to Direct, filter to OS, and then just start downloading maps until you get bored of it. Honestly, you won't even play most of the maps you got like this, but it's just about casting a wide net, so there's bound to be at least some good ones in there. Those are the ones you're after. But now let's move on to what not to play. Well, we already covered that you shouldn't play maps that are too hard for you. So all that's left are the farm maps. Don't play them. Yeah, no, that's a stupid tip. Like, first of all, it's just bad advice. And secondly, it's not like it would actually stop you. Plus, it's really not like I'm in any position to give it. But that's fine, cause farm maps are fine, honestly. Usually they just have simpler rhythms and patterns, which means it takes less effort to play them. And well, if you keep that in mind, you can probably already tell why not playing loads of them is also an improvement tip. Cause yeah, simple patterns. To get better, you want the harder ones. So if you only play farm, you will hamper your skill progression, but you will still have loads of PP. And then when you eventually get back to actually learning what you need to, there will be a long and frustrating segment of no PP gain. And well, at that point you actually have a lot of people giving up on the game, but we wanna avoid that. So well then, how do you use them right? Well, if there are some maps in about your range and you want to farm them, just throw a few attempts at them during each of your play sessions and then move on. Like this, you might not get the FC on the first day, but if you have the skills, sooner or later you will. And that without having to spam it, which reduces the risk of getting mind blocked. Which is also how I personally do it. Well, mostly. Sometimes you're just that close, and you know you can do it, so you just Usually that doesn't work. And now I'm mind blocked on some shitty 6-star map. So thanks for that, Peppy. Also seriously, don't be ashamed of having farm maps be your top plays. Cause first of all, honestly, no one cares. And secondly, your top plays don't nearly represent your actual skill level as closely as you might expect. And I'm gonna say it here, even though it should be obvious, that of course does not apply to pro players. But are you one? Anyways, your top plays are just here to give you PP, which then gives you a general idea about how good you are. It's flawed, yes, but it's the best thing we got. Meanwhile, if you want to show off your cool diverse skill set, well, that's what pin scores and YouTube are for. But now, onto the general tips. Number 1, focus on improving your accuracy. Why would you do that? Well, cause that's where most of the PP lives. Sure, you're still gonna lose it all if you don't get full combo, but that's just bad game design. Sure, in the beginning you might be able to mash out 80% on some harder map and still get decent PP, but since there aren't that many maps you can actually do this on, they'll run out rather quickly. And then you'll need to improve your AC anyways, so why not just do it from the beginning? Don't worry too much about keeping your combo, cause it's not nearly as important as making sure that this number stays high. I know, it can be really painful, but what can you do? Cause this is just a misclick. But this is a serious playstyle problem. So go and get that AC up. If you need help with that, I actually have some videos about it on my channel. So you know, just check them out once you're done with this one. And well, maybe subscribe while you're at it. Would be really cool. But yeah, AC is important. Just make sure that you don't fall into the trap of only playing easy rhythms to keep it up. Cause stuff like 1/2 beat gets pretty easy to hit consistently rather fast. Which is also why we see it in so many farm maps. Now you don't need to go out and spam polyrhythm and tech maps, but just keep in mind that there's a difference between getting bad AC on something like this or this. When talking about focusing on different skill sets, just keep in mind that you can't master everything, not yet at least. Sure, 1 in a million will somehow be the next MREC, but until then, don't try to learn jumps, bursts, streams, tech, easy and hard rock all at the same time. That'll just lead you nowhere. Sure, you should have a basic understanding of every skill set, and there really shouldn't be anything you absolutely can't play. Be that as it may, your main focus should still only be on one at a time. Just pick your favorite from among the different skill sets, and then focus on that one for now. Still play the rest, of course, we don't want you becoming a one-trick, but when you play practice maps and such, just play the ones for that particular skill set. Of course, if you become uninterested or get stuck with one skill set, then just go and focus on the next one. But limiting your practice to one specific area at a time will yield a lot more results than taking the shotgun approach. Also, please don't hard focus on streams or tech yet. Sure, if those are what you want to base your playstyle around, that's cool, but both of them require really good fundamentals. To be fair, being a 6-digit right now covers anyone from around 500 to over 4000 PP. So depending on where you fall on that spectrum, this might of course apply a lot less to you. But especially with streams, their maps won't just rely exclusively on that skill set, so even if you can hit the death stream, it's no use if right after that you choke the jumps or the slider spam. Never mind. No, that was a joke of course, most maps aren't like that. Wasted opportunity if you ask me, cause really, why aren't there more stream farm maps? But back to the actual point. If you want to play stream maps, you need more skills than just playing streams. And even the actual streaming can be kind of hard to learn, cause you really don't want to mash. But also, you're not looking at the individual notes either. It's like you're just pressing buttons, but you do it right. Stupid way to phrase it, I know. The core essence of this mess is just that you want to wait with playing streams until you got good fundamentals. But if it is the direction you want to go in, just work yourself up by playing maps with bursts. And maybe avoid stream practice until you can hit short streams on your own. But now tech, which is a bit different again, cause it's kind of an umbrella term for any unusual pattern. Or at least that's how you find it used pretty often. Personally, I would say it's the hardest skill set to master, cause it deliberately plays different from regular maps. But if you can somehow do it, you'll have a much easier time learning anything else afterwards. Just don't hard focus on this early, cause you will have a bad time. And if you're just mashing through the patterns, well, now you got a bad habit as well. This is another tip most of you probably already follow anyways, but get a good skin. Now, what that looks like is something subjective, of course. So just cause a skin is popular doesn't mean it's going to be the right one for you. For example, I personally really don't like follow circles, but others can't play without them. So just go and find one which works for you, or better yet, find a dozen. Cause yeah, when you're mind blocked on a map, it can help to switch your skin. And for my last tip, it's just a small one, so it won't get its own title card. Not that that would make it any less important though. It's basically just, don't overdo it. When you got a day where you just can't improve, don't waste your time trying to force it, just come back tomorrow. Or if your hands start hurting, at that point, just take a break. Like, come on, don't be stupid. Anyways, that's it for the tips, so now onto the bad habits. Number 1 bad habit, playing maps that are way too hard for you, cause it's basically a sure way to spawn the rest of this list. And you wouldn't believe, well, no you likely will, just how often I see new players with hundreds of attempts on some shitty 7-star maps just cause some streamer played them in a highlight. So don't, cause doing this shit will directly lead to mashing, RNG flicking and bad ac. Now, we already talked about the last one before, so let's focus on the other two. You've got mashing in lots of games. In O's, it just means that you click buttons without caring about the rhythm. And it's also how new players will try to play streams. But it doesn't work like that, cause you need to actually hold the BPM. And the same goes for bursts, but interestingly, over there you can also find higher level players doing it. Cause when you play DT, bursts get crazy fast, and when you can't play that BPM, you just mash it out. And since the rest of those maps is usually farm, you won't get nearly as punished for it as you probably should. And lastly, you can also mash on slider spam parts or jumps. And if you do that, well, it's really bad. Not like the other ones are good, but jumps are the most basic patterns, and sliders just don't really work like that. And in general, the thing with mashing is that it isn't just a bad habit cause it hurts your progression. Cause if you do it enough, that shit will become muscle memory, and once that happens, unlearning it is going to be really painful. And even then, when you get into a stress situation, like having a high combo, sometimes your fingers will still just revert back to doing dumb stuff. So stop mashing before it's never really too late, cause just like with smoking, the best time to stop would have been right when you started. The second best time is now. So when you play DT, look at the BPM first, and if it's too high, go play something else. And other than that, just really try to mentally hold yourself back from doing it, even if it makes you miss. RNG flicking is basically the aim equivalent of mashing. So I could have called it aim mashing, but I feel like the RNG part just really explains what the problem is. Basically only happens on jump maps. And the problem here is when you have a big jump, and you kinda just throw your cursor towards it, hoping to hit it. Honestly, sometimes that's just how you have to play a div spike on a farm map. But if you keep doing this, you will mess up your aim. Luckily, it's way easier to fix than regular mashing, cause you can just play less extreme jumps. Or you just force yourself to make deliberate movements when playing out a pattern. Wait, do I really have to explain what is wrong here? Fine. You see, you aren't really getting much actual playtime here, and that's basically it. Of course, you can also just get mind blocked on a pattern and then you'll have to take a break from it anyways. But yeah, the big thing is still just that you'll get a lot less playtime if you retry at every mistake. And less playtime means less improvement. Honestly, this needs its own video, but just as with other games, getting tilted will hurt your performance. And you would think that having the lizard brain take over would actually be helpful here, but somehow it still isn't. So if you start feeling tilted, maybe call it quits for the day, or just continue once you've actually calmed down. It really helps. But now for the final tip of this video. Honestly, just play more. Yeah, getting good at those takes time, and that's time you actually have to spend in-game as well. Guides like this one can give you a good theoretical basis and maybe a nudge in the right direction. But in the end, if you don't put in the time as well, you'll never get anywhere. And that now covers everything I wanted to get into, so I hope you found it helpful, and if you did, I would really appreciate it if you could like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. But now, if you want to watch some actual secret cheat codes on how to get good instantly, go watch this. Or click here if you just want to watch something funny. And with that, see you next time.